Hey, my smart peeps. Had to make a video after the final debate. I just wanted to wing it today, and I have been away because I really got too depressed. I ended up having like a little bit of a crisis because I started seeing all these masks in all the stores, and I just got so depressed for quite a few days. I'm much better now. Went to the mountains, got my head straight. It helps to be in nature with God and just sit there. It's just the best thing for you. It's kind of like meditation in nature, but not the bad kind of meditation, the kind where you just let God be God to you. It is great. So anyway, back to the grind. Okay, so I wanted to just wing it today and kind of go over stuff that was on Facebook. I just got put in Facebook jail for a week. I have been shadow banned like you not believe. So I'm amazed that they haven't done anything to me before now. Of course, I said Obama was a Muslim. So that was probably a bad thing, but that they did not like. The truth hurts, right? Okay, so we're going to go into just stuff that's, across my feed and things like that, and stuff that I have been involved in. So right now, the first thing is the worst thing, I guess you could say it like that. Law enforcement across America is preparing for massive election riots. I really thought things would be a lot darker. I think I told you that I got this word from God about October being pretty dark. I mean, I guess it's dark. I don't know. And all of a sudden, they're pushing this narrative about there being a dark winter. Have you heard that? Like the left and New World Order people are all pushing that there's going to be this dark winter, and they're alluding that it's in COVID. I don't know what to think about that. What I want to think is that they're warning us that they're going to do something to us. So I think you guys need to really be careful. I don't know what to think. Don't get tested. Just don't get tested. It's not the test. If you look into the science, they haven't isolated the 19 yet. Can't say it too many times apparently on this channel, according to other people. Or get, my channel taken down, which, hey, I just got fried on Facebook. Wouldn't be a surprise. So anyway, the whole thing's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The fear that Biden talked about tonight was amazing. Complete and utter fear about, oh my gosh, people dying. I'm like, wow. And they came out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sorry, that's my text. 3 or 4 weeks ago saying that it was CDC that they admitted they fudged the numbers. They completely admitted it. We only have 11,000 dead from COVID. So I gotta stop saying that. Anyway, CV. I'll put it that way. Yeah, the numbers have been fudged. Anybody who just dropped dead or whatever, like there's a guy that just on my feed, my friends, okay? There's a whole family that's one of my friends' family that are completely up in arms because the perfectly healthy guy in their family just died of a motorcycle wreck, and they put CV on the death certificate. Well, you guys got to know they're getting $39,000 for that, for the hospital, and then the doctor gets 20%. And I was told by a doctor that even some of the head nurses, and I don't know how they get it, but some of the head nurses there also get a percentage of that. They get a cut. They're making bank. So why are they going to say to people it's not real? I mean, well, it's real. CV's real, but it's not nearly as virulent as it was because all man-made viruses spiraled down to a really cold-like status, which is, I had it for a second time. It was like a cold. It was the same symptoms that I had the first time with it, which was pretty bad, but I know how to take care of it. So I follow the science, the real science, not the propaganda science. So anyway, law enforcement across America is preparing for massive election riots. See what it has to say. The fact that law enforcement officials across the nation are expecting widespread violence following the election should chill every American to the core. As they keep repeating over and over, violence is not going to solve anything, but much of the population is not listening, that is a fact, to voices such as mine anymore. well, we're also being banned. Everybody who's telling the truth, who's done honest research with real doctors and real medical facts and real science, where nobody has skin in the game, that's the real stuff. We're trying to pass it along, and it's getting shut down. So, as you will see below, authorities have decided to plan for the worst because everyone can see what is potentially coming. We can't hold a presidential election without violence at this point. How much longer can our system possibly last? No matter who ends up winning, I think that the election in 2020 is a lot about how far America has already fallen. Thankfully, officials in most major cities do not have their heads stuck in the sand and have been preparing for massive riots following the election. In New York, the NYPD is literally training every day to deal with the riots and protests that they're anticipating. NYPD is training every day and deploying hundreds of extra cops to brace for election day's aftermath. Fear riots and protests could break out after the results are announced. In Los Angeles, officers are being told that they may need to reschedule their vacations. They'll still be available for whatever may happen. LAPD sent an internal memo to its officers last week that said they may need to reschedule any vacations around Election Day as the agency prepares for possible protests or other unrest, according to the Los Angeles Times. In so many instances, law enforcement agencies are pointing to the riots that erupted in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd as a type of scenario that they want to be prepared for this time around. Even down in Texas, authorities in multiple cities are admitting that they are planning for potential unrest and around the November 3rd election. What is going on here? Something went somewhere. Okay. Is it that we're allowed to scroll more? No, I don't. Okay, here we go. It was just the beginning of what would be 4 years of unrest, protests, and riots. Now the 2020 election is just 3 weeks away. Local police are preparing for the possibility of continued unrest. Over in Minneapolis, shell-shocked officials continue to deal with an unprecedented wave of crime and violence, and the spokesman for the police told the press that their approach for this upcoming election is to plan for the worst. Side note, tonight, the night of the debate, BLM is doing a protest both in Maine and Portland. So, yeah, apparently they're pretty big. Okay, in Minneapolis, where the protests after George Floyd murder raged for weeks, similar preparations are being made. We are aware that this may be a flashpoint and have made appropriate plans. I think that's a good word for all of us. Kind of skimming here. It's pretty much the same thing. Unrest. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we're never going back to normal, which is part of why I was depressed. And I mean, I guess everybody's depressed to a level, right? How can we not be? We can't see our friends. We can't do things anymore. I mean, the best thing that happened to me was going to the mountains. It was great. I mean, you actually can forget about the zombies walking around with the masks, because that's what people are with the masks. They're just freaking Nazi order-following zombies. And they will fight you. It blows my mind. They will fight you to say that they're dying of a pandemic when they're not. The WHO, who I don't like, came out, was it a week ago? Now, and said that it no longer qualifies as a pandemic. The numbers are too low. And that they want no countries to lock down anymore. They actually said that. But now it's just gone crazy. People, I think officials like certain different people. I don't really go for Republican Democrat kind of thing. I mean, I'm kind of like, I do go conservative, of course, because Christian. But they both have their problems. And they both have their points. So I really don't try to do that. I see that officials on both sides are taking advantage of the CV, and have certain. They realize it's like war's big business. It's like that. Now they're seeing that this is working. This is somehow in their favor in different areas. So yeah, the shutdown's in their favor in a lot of different areas. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do there. We'll see, right? We don't have much time left. Okay, so President Trump, if Biden did a good job, I wouldn't have had to run for. That's true. He told that to Oprah like years and years ago. If he felt the country needed him, that he could do something, he would run if there was a point where it got that bad. Well, apparently you thought it got that bad. Obama kind of made it that bad. So yeah. Let's see. You can see a lot of the different stuff. Somebody had good. Who built the cages? Obama did. I was in the town that took the first kids in. I did not know what was going on. I immediately jumped on it going, what? And found out that Obama put flyers all the way down from Mexico to like Argentina. I mean, way down, all the way down. And the flyer said, if you want your children to have a good life, send them to America. We'll take them. I was shocked. And so they were literally coming in these little groups, and we took the first school. I shouldn't say little, we're talking like 100, like at the time, 100 or 200 kids came. I mean, we had a little town, real little town, and we took, you can look it up. And we took the first ones. And there was a lot of protests going on. The news covered it. I was concerned. They were completely other parents. I couldn't understand why someone would say to send their kids alone like that. It was weird until, of course, more recently, we find out about the human trafficking. And guess what? Those kids I tried to follow. I'm a good researcher. I've researched for 35 years. I know how to find things like you would not believe. I'm going to tell you, I followed those kids. The first time they went to a hotel, they tried to put them in those cages. Okay? We got them out. They put those kids in a hotel. A hotel that was already shut down. For repairs or something like that, and it was a nice hotel, and they gave them a lot of stuff. It was really, they put them up. It was nice. And then they moved him from our state, which was Arizona, to another hotel in another state, and I can't remember what state that was for the life of me at the time. It's been a lot since 2014. But after the news just forgot about them. Like when they transported him, it was like big news, and then they just was like, oh, well, they're all taken care of, so yay, And then I kept trying to follow him, and I couldn't find him, and it was announced like, I don't know, a few months ago, they lost them. They lost most all the kids that came up. That was just the first batch. They lost 100% of those kids. Lost. Okay, that's human trafficking. He was bringing those kids in for his cronies, and I'm not going to go into it. Just look up, the trafficking stuff that's come out in the last few months, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so yes, he built the cages. I was there. I saw it all firsthand as it went on. Okay, nobody in the Trump administration had anything to do with the cages or them coming up or nothing, and they were alone. Biden's wrong. They were 100% alone. That was what the flyer said to do. They would hire somebody to take one person to help them through, kind of like a coyote, but it was more legit. And they brought them up to the border, and that was it. They handed them over. It was like, hello, there's all these kids here, take them. It's like, what? Yeah, that's what happened. So that's the way it went down. People can't make minimum wage if America is shut down. Yep, that's true. There's no reason to shut down. There's no pandemic. I had a really good argument. And what I mean by good argument is, a good back and forth with somebody's thoughts. And I think I helped make him expand his mind a little bit. He was like, well, because I said, have you seen the movies? What a pandemic looks like? Because this isn't it. Okay, there's their bodies outside your door. They're burning. Is there large burning pits? You know what I mean? No, there's no. And he's like, oh well, the movies. You're citing the movies as a source, and I'm like, no, I'm citing the movies that copied pandemics that happened in the past. Look up your history then. I'm citing those pandemics, and yes, in those pandemics, you opened your door. And you had bodies in the middle of the street piled up. You had burning pits that they had to put those bodies in because it was a pandemic and they were worried about people getting contagious, getting it. So they didn't want to just bury them. And they burned a lot. And some they did bury them, some they didn't, some they burned them. But it was not cool. It was very much, I think it was probably worse than what we saw in the movies. The movies can't probably portray the ugliness of it all. And you can imagine all that. And they didn't get a chance to it's like, oh, I'm going to keep my loved one to bury him. No, you bring out your dead. That was what they used to do. They go down and up the streets and yell, bring out your dead. And if you didn't, you get arrested. I mean, it was serious. You didn't keep mama or dad at home so you could bury him and have a proper burial. In the backyard. Nope. Bring out your dead now. I mean, it was wickedly bad. We have not seen a pandemic. This has not been, nor will ever be. We are not currently in a pandemic. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Okay. Yes, he has been in office for 47 years. And I honestly haven't heard what he's accomplished. And I'm just saying that as an independent voter. I have heard a lot of people ask, and I've seen a lot of left people on my Facebooks and my Twitter and the YouTube and also that, and there's nobody that can tell me what he's actually really gotten done. Do you ever have so much planned the next day and then you wake up and you're just like, nah? Yeah, that's going on because of the pandemic, because we're not allowed to do anything. The tax returns, yeah, that's a bit of a thing that sticks in my craw. I just wish he would just do it. I mean, he's under, I forgot what it's called, but he's under like that investigation thing. What do they call it? I had it right for a second. Oh my gosh. When they tax, they call you and they say, you got to come to the office because of your taxes and you better have 7 years and all this approved. Audit. That's it. Audit. He's under that on a constant. And there's just like, it's not a law, but it's like the lawyers say you shouldn't release your taxes until the audit's done. Well, they audit him every year. And so he's like, well, and his lawyer's like, no. And he's like, well, I kind of need to. And they're like, no. So that's been the problem. I think he should just do it. We already know. I mean, he's a businessman. We know what we got. I mean, the people who voted for him know who he was. Okay. He is a narcissist. We can't take that away from him. He is. He may be a Christian now, which, great. That's wonderful. He's still a narcissist. Sorry. And he's a kind of a bully, granted. We know this, but this is who he's always been, right? I mean, so he becomes president and all of a sudden he's like this shining, perfect person. What? No. We hired a businessman because we wanted him to balance the books, period. I mean, that's why I voted for Ross Perot. That was my first vote, I think. Because I wanted something different. I wanted somebody who knew how to manage money. It's simple as that. So yeah, I think he just should release, just to stop the whole debate. That's where I've been. This is where I've been. This guy makes a perfectly good example. He's in surviving chronic pain. But he says, I suffer from so many things, but worse is hearing others suffering. This is what bothers me, is the people who wear masks and they're putting their health in jeopardy for something that is less fatal than the flu. That is a fact. Okay, flu is 1.0. Depending on your age, the CV is, like I said, depending on your age, is 0.0 something. That's less than the flu. There's nothing you can do about that. So the masks, they are doing damage. There's one lady got her lung collapse because of it, because you rebreathe your carbon dioxide, whatever it is. You rebreathe that. The lungs don't know where to put it. They put it to the side, which is what causes pleurisy. And hers is extreme because she was working a really physical job. And she wasn't allowed to ever take it off. She had a very specific, heavy mask, too. The thinnest mask you can possibly wear. Only wear them in the stores. When I do it, I get past the Nazis in the front and I let it off one ear so I can breathe because I have issues. I've gotten a few looks and I haven't had nobody tell me anything. I see other people doing it too. So, and then of course when you go back up to the cashier, I put it back on. That's about it. There was this older man and it was like, what? I was with one of my son's friends. We were all together getting birthday stuff, and it was for like we're gonna have a party for his birthday. And one of his friends was in front of me, and we just happened to be talking. Went up to the counter. Both of us had the mask hanging off our ear. Old man in front of him, he was like a good 4 feet away, so he wasn't fully 6 feet away. He's like, and we're talking, and all of a sudden I hear this. I mean, I didn't even realize what had happened. I hear something like somebody yell, and then my son's friend turns around. I mean, because he had turned around for a second to help unload the cart, and got yelled at. And the guy made this huge, like, sweeping motion with his hand toward my son's friend. And then, he's a young man. Okay, we're talking out of teens. You know what I mean? They're a young man, and he started to shake, and it wasn't shaking because he was upset. He was shaking with anger. I told him, calm down. He's looking at me like, don't let him talk to me again. And I'm like, I told the guy, I go, stop being a Nazi. Okay, and we put our masks on immediately. We put them back over because we literally forgot. It wasn't like, we didn't do it on purpose. And the cashier was just like, I'm doing my work. I'm not involved. You know what I mean? And I just told the guy, we're in America. We're in America. Stop. So he just packed and turned around and left. And I de-escalated that because I'm like, that was so Nazi. I'm sorry, but this is what this is. People have to realize, okay? We imported the Nazis, thousands of them, families, in the 40s. We brought them over, gave them asylum, gave them jobs in key positions where they're using it against us now. These guys are evil as And this is what's a lot of the problem with this country. Is we have to get these, literally, I'm saying Nazis not to be as a condemning. They are Nazis. They are freaking Nazis in every way, shape, and form. And I didn't even know this existed until I heard about the Jews who have been having since, I don't even know when, 50s, 60s, some early 60s. They have been having their own little, like, I can't call them gangs. They're like policing their own people because regularly, those Nazis that are here in this country, they off them. They off the Jews. They're still doing it. They didn't stop. They didn't stop when they came over here, and we didn't stop them. So when I found out about that, I did more research, found out that they were put into stuff. The CIA is full of them. This is why we had all those weird experiments in the CIA and everything, was because of that, because they were full of Nazis. So I was like, oh, that makes sense now. So I heard the CIA.org is now open for perusal. Like, they don't care anymore that we know it's crap. They're not afraid of us. So it's some really crazy stuff in there. Okay. I don't know about that.
All right, I'm going to say something.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, here it goes. This is the one they used on Trump. Although I do believe he probably took hydroxychloroquine because we all know that's a cure. Remdesivir becomes first FDA fully approved coronavirus treatment. So I hear that's really is pretty good. And they gave him that too. He did say that. So yeah, of course, there's an easier way because I had it twice and I happen to know for a fact. You don't let the fever go. The fever goes immediate, like spike. You don't feel so bad. You're kind of like, I don't feel so, it's kind of, and then all of a sudden you get this fever out of nowhere. That's COVID, okay? Ooh, I said it again. They're going to get burned. Anyway, keep the fever down. That grows the back bacteria. That's the whole point. I think I've said that before. And so don't let the fever grow. Do what you got to do. Alcohol rubs, put it all alcohol over your body. Rubbing alcohol, that brings fever down. Put ice in the back of your neck. Take a cold bath if it gets that far. I had 104. My kid had 103. And my kid never got fevers, and he had constant problems with pneumonia as a little kid. Never got a fever. It was really hard to convince them that he had pneumonia. I knew from signs they had to take an x-ray every time he did have it. They're like, wow, we haven't met people that don't have fever, with pneumonia. Well, he just never gets fevers, like ever. First fever he ever got was CV. And we got lucky. We got a doctor that told us, don't let the fever, keep that fever down at all costs. And I'm like, what? So I did the research, and I'm like, oh, it grows the back bacteria, which is then it goes, and it'll go to your brain, your heart, or your lungs. It's not just your lungs. It could go any three of those things. So you really have, the fever's the key. And then, of course, you follow it up with vitamin C, vitamin D3, selenium, which is a big one, zinc is a big one, and then antibiotics and quinine. My doctor gave me a Z-Pack, azithromycin. He gave us, me and my son, to keep here. And just for that reason, to back it up. So in case, because the fever is, like I said, you get that fever out of nowhere. Yeah, you got it. You take that, you take quinine. Get quinine. I got them off Amazon. You can take the quinine soda water that's in the store. I did a liter a day. I didn't know I could get the pills. I have the pills now. When I got it the second time, it was like I knew it was it. It wasn't as high a fever, and it came down right away, like almost on its own. And it was like a bad cold. I felt achy and weird. I knew that's, what it was. And so I was like, how do I get rid of these like residuals? I kept, it was like 3 days, but then I kept feeling, like these weird residuals, which I hear people get. I'm like, oh no, But then I took the quinine, got rid of it, completely got rid of it. So I don't know what to say. And my son didn't take anything. He got it again too. And he didn't take anything second time around. Solely just got over it in 3 days. So I'm assuming that Trump had the lighter version, which again, like I said, the man-made version winds down. So I think that's all that's out there now, is that version. And the people that aren't handling it are people who are low in selenium. This is what a fact that African doctors found out. For most of the bad things, like even AIDS, all of that stuff is people were abnormally low in selenium. So I immediately went out and got selenium. So keep that up. Keep your selenium up. Yeah. So, I mean, if you know what you're doing and you have a brain, okay, you're fine. You're going to have to treat it just like you would the flu or anything else. Keep this quinine in your house, like you keep NyQuil in your house, whatever. And, and when the fever's the key, it. Fever and cough, and you get that cough. And see, I kept the cough because I didn't have, the first time around, I had a cough for like a month and a half because I didn't get the fever down right away. When he told us, I'd already had it for like some hours. And you have to get down immediately. It is seriously the key. And then I didn't have any what do you call it? Like anything like antibiotics or anything, So I pretty much got over it. It was bad though. It was bad. It was like we had it for like I don't know. It was past 7 days, and it felt really awful. It was really different. So anyway, you'll know it when you get it. Trust me. There's key things you'll know, but it's gonna be with us forever. So just deal with that. Oh, this is a bit okay. Supposed to be opposed Biden as the winner. Well, it's CNN. Duh. You know what I'm saying? I love it. And he did lie several times. He did lie. Flat out lie. So I'm sure people are going to bring that out. I'm sure Trump maybe did too. I didn't see anything that he said that was really an overt lie the way Biden's did, but I could be wrong. Yeah, that's weird, right? It happens in places. I don't know why. Now, I don't know what to say about that. Joe, if you come to America, do it legally, then cages you built won't have to be used, and you won't be worried about catch and release. That's true. That's true. If you come to America, do it legally. I don't understand the problem. My personal opinion is I don't. I have no opinion because I don't understand the problem. What is wrong with coming to here legally? I don't get it. I know people, Mexicans. I'm friends with Mexicans that came here legally. A whole family, in fact. The father died. The mother came across with like 4 kids. One of my friends was dating them, and I asked him about that because they were young, and the mother worked to get them all legal. She did everything by the book, everything. She works at a casino. She worked her butt off. Her kids are workers, good kids. I don't know what the problem is. I asked her, the one that I knew, I said, well, so what do you think about? She goes, I think they need to get their citizenship. I go, okay, so you don't have any feelings about them being here. She says they shouldn't be here legally. I was like, wow. I grew up with a lot of, I married 2 Mexicans. Okay. So my first husband, his family were like, they hated the idea of illegals. I mean, his mother was very, very adamant against. She had names. She called them names that you'd say white people would call them. Only she was Mexican. Okay, so I'm just saying, there's some feelings there, and it's usually surprisingly not with the illegals. So I don't know. That's just the way my personal experience has been. Joe doesn't look. No, he didn't. There was one point when I thought, oh, I don't like. Yeah, I don't like what they've done to him. I mean, he's a human being. He's definitely rattled. He's definitely not doing well mentally. And I feel bad that they put him through this. Obviously, he's taken some kind of med to keep him more alert than normal, because he can't hold it like that in real life to the level he did tonight, the way he did the last one. He can't hold it like that. So there's some kind of, the stuff that the college kids take to keep them, something like that. So I feel bad for him. I'm sure he's having a bad time right now recovering from that whole thing, because Trump's a hard one to deal with. I'll admit that. And this comment here, we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation. That's fact. We have lost more than half now of all our restaurants in the country. All our restaurants in the country. That's just one, area. It's all getting hit like that. All getting hit like that. Places that I thought would not go down are going down. Are closing stores. It's scary, honestly. My kid's trying to get a job right now, and I'm like, is he gonna get a job? I'm like, we'll see, right? Okay, so yeah, no, I don't know. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Russia. Yeah, see, the whole Russia thing. I agree with Trump tonight. Russia. It's like Marsha. Why are they? They seems like they wanted a war with Russia forever now, since Obama. I don't understand why. The wall came down. I was there. I mean, not there, but you know what I mean. TV. We watched it. It was supposed to be, we're friends with them now. Not so much friends, but we aren't enemies. Put it that way. Then all of a sudden they got this, like, stirring up Russia stuff. I'm like, what? The kids now don't even know what the whole Russia thing, people my age, 50s, we remember it, but we also remember the wall came down. We were told, no, the people of Russia are good people, and, the government sucked, and now they're better, and, they're not a threat the way they were. You can go live your lives and have kids and not worry. That's basically what we were told. Before that, it was like, no, we're all going to die. I mean, we were told that repeatedly in school. You're going to die. There's going to be nuclear with Russia. Get used to, Soviet Union at the time. Get used to it. You're probably not going to have kids. You're probably not going to see your adulthood. That's what we were told. My mother was told duck and cover when the Russians, when the Soviet Union did attack, that they would live. We were told the truth. No, you will not live. It'll be too much. So, it's quite a surprise when you reach 18 and you're like, what? So I don't understand. I think the only thing I could come up with is the fact that they're using Russia. They're pointing the finger in one direction by trying to look over here while I'm doing crap over here. And I think that's China. I think they're with China. Stuff that's going up now in Congress is going about Google and how they have been cutting out. It's not just Google, it's Facebook, Twitter, and Google. But Google is the first one, and that's why it's in that list right there as first, because they got attacked first for using, censoring, complete censorship, complete and utter communist censorship with their search engine. And they're so big. They're so big. And they have been election tampering. It's called election tampering then, when you purposely stop from one side it doesn't matter which side. It's election tampering. And it started, and it was a little over 2 years ago it started, and it was when they created the algorithm for China to do that to their citizens, to stop certain things coming across to them in their search engines. Google just turned around and used it on us. Now that's Chinese. They moved to China. Okay, so who's the culprit here? China again. Why are we pointing the finger at Russia? This is my thought. Because it's really China. Look over to Russia. Don't look at China, just Russia. See? That's what they're doing now. Everything seems to be coming about from China. So, yeah, that's a real problem. And we'll see if anything happens with that. And we get our rights back, our freedom of speech back, which we have, slowly it's been eroded to where nobody can say anything anymore. I told my kid, this is you guys' fault too. Started with the Y generation, they got all sensitive, okay? And then it went into the millennials who, got offended for everything. And then his generation is just like crybabies. They're just like, oh my God, like, oh, you're a bully. So, oh, please, if you can't handle someone's speech, you just turn it off. If it's TV, if it's anything on social media, you just turn it off. That person should not be stifled. That's against American rights. People died for those rights. Really fought and died for those rights to remain this way. And they've slowly been eroded by communist people. So they have to be restored. They really do. That blood was not spilt so that they could get eroded away. And these kids have allowed that to happen because they're offended and they don't want to hear things they don't want to hear. Well, too bad. I didn't want to hear things I didn't want to hear, but when I was young, but I didn't think, I'm going to change the whole world and make them bow down to me. That did not happen in the 80s. I'm sorry. 70s and 80s? Oh, heck no. No. You said a bad word in your house, which was, freedom of speech, right? You weren't allowed to do that in your house, right? Your mother had a problem with that, I'm sure. Nowadays, the culprit can say whatever they want. But if the other person gets offended, any of these kids, they can say whatever they want. If the other person gets offended, now they're the bad guy. What? It is so turned around. It's what the Bible said, that everything's going to get turned around. Everything's going to be upside down. So we have to put this back right if we want to keep our world, if we want to keep our nation specifically, we have to turn it back right. There are other nations that are fighting more than we are. And that's why I was depressed. I'm trying to just distance myself now from it and just lean on Jesus and not just talk about it, but without as much emotional investment. I literally have been crying for the people who are suffering, who are in fear, the way Biden tried to do tonight, put them more in fear. I have a friend that's been sheltered. Well, my son and I have a friend that have both been sheltered in their houses since March. Both of them in fear, in stark raving fear. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. My son and I have lived our lives pretty much normal, that we can, and are fine. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this. But I just wanted to touch base. I'm going to probably come back more often now that I'm trying to distance myself kind of emotionally from things without, I really, really, really want to educate people to go and search places that don't have skin in the game, okay? You don't have to believe me. I did my research, for myself, okay, and my kid, so that I know what to do, so that I know how to handle things, so I don't get taken so I'm getting, something take me by surprise. Any of that. Research doctors that don't have skin in the game. A bunch of 407 European doctors just came out and talked about what I just said, CV, not being virulent anymore to the level it was. And that if it is to somebody, they've got something really wrong with them, and it's being handled wrong in the hospitals, which is another topic. which a lot of hospitals are handling it wrong. Because if you put somebody on a respirator, it's 19 grand. Yes, if they just land in the bed under CV, it's 19 grand. So yeah, anybody who's in the bed is a CV, patient. If they die, 39,000. See what I mean? It's all about money. That should never be involved. But the government pays them because it's like extra. It's a whole thing. It's a whole extra payment package for dealing with a pandemic. But it needs to be taken out of the game. It really does. It's making doctors doing harm. Because putting somebody on a respirator before they absolutely need it will kill them. So why do you think somebody died in New York? Yeah, that's the truth. Research it for yourself with real doctors who aren't getting paybacks, aren't in big pharma, aren't, with any Harvard or any universities, that are regular doctors who aren't phoning it in today, but are actually trying to care for you. Those are the people you need to research, who are more than just doctors, but they're scientists as well, and like those 407, they're all going to tell you this is nothing. It's just another thing, and we have to deal with, but it's not a pandemic, and we need to go back to normal, and we need to stop the mask because that's causing more problems than anything else. Little kids that are born, they're seeing masks, and it's messing them up mentally, behavioral health wise, and we don't even know what that generation is going to be like from that. It's not cool, because faces are like a big deal with the development of a child. Masks cannot be worn around a baby to 3 years old. They should not be worn around those children at all. It's making them developmental in some way that we're going to find out later. And I don't think it's going to be a good thing. That's psychology. I have that as my background as well. So anyway, like I said, do your own research, but look in the right places for the sources that don't have skin in the game, don't get payoffs, aren't involved with any university, all that stuff. Look in the proper places, okay? That's the biggest tip I can give you if you don't believe me offhand. All right, I hope you have a wonderful night, day, whatever you are listening to this, if you listen to this. All right, God bless you.